Good morning, Colorado. You are listening to the Daily Sun Up. It's a conversation with the Colorado Sun. I'm team editor David Kraus. Before we jump into today's conversation, here is a quick message from our sponsor.
Take a day to focus on your goals and learn from top thought leaders. The Ames Community College Spotlight Speaker Series returns September 16th with best-selling authors Dan Heath, Susan Cain, and change leadership expert Cassandra Worthy. All live at the Ames Welcome Center in Greeley. One day, 3 powerful perspectives. Set the summer trend. Electrify your lawn equipment and help reduce harmful ground-level ozone in your Front Range community. Learn more at simplestepsbetterair.org. Journalists at the Colorado Sun don't tell you how to vote, but we make sure you're informed when you do. Donate to keep independent news free for all Coloradans at coloradosun.com/primaries-2026.
Now, back to the show. Happy 4th of July week, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. With the long holiday weekend, plenty of folks are going to be cooking up some of the standard holiday fare. So joining me to talk about what that is going to look like for your wallet is Sun business reporter Tamara Chuang. Hello, Tamara.
Hey, David. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Looking forward to a short work week and one of the best times of year. Summer in Colorado, can't beat it, right?
Oh, definitely.
Tamara, we do this for Thanksgiving every year. It's kind of a fun little exercise. It's a good comparison year to year. But as folks are getting ready for their menus in line for the big 3-day weekend, how are prices going to be treating us as we head to the market?
Yeah, so I mentioned in this past edition's What's Working, a annual survey by the American Farm Bureau Federation. And as you said, they do this every Thanksgiving. But, they also, for July 4th, they also look at the cost of cooking out. I mean, like a barbecue, for a party of 10. And, the costs are actually up 4% from a year ago, at least at the national level. And, it's a variety of items, burgers, hot dogs, and stuff like that. So inflation has hit, according to the Farm Bureau's data. But in looking at actually what's happening in Colorado, the same menu, the prices have gone down from a year ago. So that was interesting to me because, I cover Colorado and the economy, and just seeing Colorado be the state where prices are going down, that seemed a little unusual to me. So I dug into that a little bit more.
It's always a bit of an anomaly, right? When we hear of prices going down in Colorado, as we've talked through the years about how the cost of living here is. But break down the numbers for us, Tamara.
Yeah, so let me start with the U.S. Shopping list was $73.82. Colorado's was actually 11 cents higher, but Colorado's total price, which was $73.93, that's lower than it was a year ago. So it was about 3%, 3.3%, kind of that inflation rate and stuff like that. So looking into why it may seem like things did get cheaper, I don't know if anyone out there would say, yes, things are cheaper this year. I don't think that's going to be what's happening if you talk to your friends and family. But Colorado's costs have just been rising. It seems like faster than the U.S., in the past few years. I mean, we meaning the Denver area inflation rate was the first to get up to 9% back in 2022, and then like the U.S. average followed shortly after that. I think the same is happening here. We were much higher than the nation last year, and where the same meal was like $76, and now it's down to $73, $74. So I think we just shot up ahead of time. The other thing is just how this data is collected. We've got a bunch of secret shoppers, or the American Farm Bureau. They send out shoppers to compare prices on 12 items, I believe. And when you have the total price being around $70 to $75, when little things cost a little bit less or a little bit more, that could really influence, the total price by a few dollars in either direction. That's what was pointed out to me by the Farm Bureau folks. The other thing is this is July 4th, right? That's when lots of folks grill burgers or hot dogs or chicken or, different meats. So a lot of the sales ads for the grocery stores, they put stuff on sale. And, maybe it's just the timing of when someone was comparing the prices or going to the store to buy the stuff. So to me, this is more an exercise in, the economy, like how prices have changed. Let's track it. It's the same time every year. But yeah, I mean, prices were slightly down in Colorado, so that was a little surprising.
Tamara, you spoke with someone at the Colorado Farm Bureau, kind of got their take. What are they seeing? And also, what are, in Colorado specifically, Tamara, what are some of the numbers that are lower or maybe even higher?
Yeah, I had reached out to Melissa Weaver, who's the spokesperson for the Colorado Farm Bureau, and that is what she said is it could be as simple as store sales and competitive retail markets and stuff, but they didn't really know why prices were lower. Went down in that, whereas the U.S. prices went up. And then that's just kind of a thing with data. It's a limited amount of collection. So you take everything with a grain of salt, but more or less prices are within a few dollars of where they were a year ago, US level and Colorado. But if we were to look into the details of what happened in Colorado, the chicken prices were actually significantly lower, like by $3 or $4 for a couple pounds of chicken. Another thing, potato salad was down 58% from a year ago. And digging into that, some of the reasons why is like because of the ingredients that go into potato salads. Like the potato prices were down, egg prices were down. What else celery I think was down. So it's just like these little things that change the price of the total meal. Of course, there's no accounting for labor here because all this stuff is you got to go to the store and buy all these items, and then you have to go home and prepare it and cook it yourself. So that's extra work. But, hey, lots of people get an extra day off this year because July the 4th lands on a Saturday. So I know for us, we have Friday off. And if anyone's listening to this who reads What's Working, there actually won't be a What's Working edition this Saturday because I am taking that day off.
Well, the holiday hiatus, it's always nice when it comes on that long weekend like that. Tamara, you mentioned that the Farm Bureau sends people out, kind of secret shoppers. Get into a little bit more of why they do this exercise. What's the thinking behind putting these numbers out there every year?
Yeah, so it's obviously, a different perspective than an economist's perspective. This is the farm bureaus. These are the folks who represent ranchers and farmers and the agricultural industry. So they always want to highlight, how much the cost is for consumers, and trace it back to the farmers because, according to the American Federation, the American Farm Bureau Federation president, he mentioned farmers actually don't make very much money from, higher prices because they, for every dollar their farmer share is about 6% after expenses. So it's just a tiny little portion. So if you think of, potato salad is higher, which it's not, but if it was, it's like all those farmers who are producing products that go into that potato salad, they're making just tiny, tiny little fractions of the overall cost and what consumers pay. So there's a lot of other folks making money off higher inflation and, but it's a rough period when prices keep going up. And right now prices have been going up this year, and they hadn't been for a couple years now. So we'll see how it goes. Now that gas prices have slightly steadied and gas prices have really pushed up prices for other things because, transportation costs to get food from one place to another and just even for consumers, trying to afford those gas prices to get to work or to, buy the higher prices at the grocery store and, all around. So inflation seems to be hitting all over the place. But I think here in Colorado, we probably had a run up faster than everyone else. So perhaps it will steady itself or, slow down for the rest of the year. But who knows? I'm not an economist. I just report on what's happening and try to understand it as I go along.
Tamara, let's on a fun note. You had in the What's Working column this weekend another one of your reader polls, this one related to cookouts. What are some of the fun results and fun things that you heard from some of the readers?
Yeah, well, while most folks are plan to grill burgers or steaks, there were actually, I was surprised at how many said, anything but meat. Lots of vegetarians and vegans out there, so lots of vegetables out there to grill as well, which is great. But there were some unusual responses to my what are you grilling for this July 4th poll. And let's see, I'm just going to read a few off. Opossum roadkill sliders. I have never had that. Someone mentioned brats because it's Wisconsin after all. So I'm assuming this person is from Wisconsin. Someone promoted a New York Times recipe, the mushroom smash burgers. So that sounds interesting because I like mushrooms and I like the New York Times recipes. But I think I had mentioned earlier to you before this call that I was actually a little surprised that more people didn't mention the cost of things. I mean, only one person had picked my answer. I pre-write some responses for people to just pick, and only one person picked hot dogs, but I wish I could afford steaks. So I think, food costs, we were mentioning a meal for 10 people is $75. That seems like a really good deal. Of course, as I mentioned, you have to do the labor yourself. But I think food prices, maybe we're getting used to them. They are higher. We can talk about things and remember when it was half the price? And if I look back at how long ago, it's been a few years probably, but I think that's the thing with inflation. When it happens suddenly, we're all in shock. Like when gas prices go up and you may make some decisions like not drive your car as much or buy an EV. But eventually you get used to the prices. And it's rare, it seems like, when prices go down. So, except for a sale. But I think we have gotten back to getting used to higher prices, unfortunately. And that's where we're at with this poll. I think folks are just hoping just for a regular July 4th with burgers or veggies and, and having a good time, being glad that we live here.
And cheap potato salad, right?
Yes, cheap potato salad. I love potato salad.
Me too. I can never get enough. Tamara, always great catching up with you. Appreciate the time and having fun with the What's Working column this week. If you haven't already, you can check out Tamara's reader poll. You could still participate in that. Look at some other numbers around the country, regionally, as well as national averages. As well, you can check out all the business news around Colorado on our homepage and on our free Colorado Sun app. We hope everybody has a fun-filled and safe holiday week. Tamara, make it a great week, my friend.
You too. Thanks everyone for listening and have a great holiday.
Thanks for listening. And finally, here are a few stories that you should know about today.
A wildfire that sparked in Pueblo County on Monday has exploded to several thousand acres, forcing the evacuation of the town of Beulah. The Aspen Acres fire is the latest in a growing number of blazes burning across Colorado as high winds, extreme heat, and dry conditions fuel dangerous fire behavior. The Colorado Supreme Court on Monday threw out 3 ballot measures that aim to redraw the state's congressional map to favor Democrats. The measure could have given Democrats 3 more seats in the U.S. House of Representatives. The ruling is a victory for Republicans in a nationwide battle over redistricting. An independent library district in Adams County is getting ready to open its 8th location, a new $45 million site in Thornton. The new nature library is the work of Anythink Library District, which draws from a special taxing district to improve library services in Adams County. once known as the poorest funded library district in Colorado.
To read these stories and much more, visit our website, coloradosun.com. As an award-winning nonprofit news outlet, we take our mission of credible, independent journalism seriously, and you can check out our trust indicators at coloradosun.com/ethics. Our music is by the Denver-based Matt Skellinger Group. A link to their music is in our show notes, and a special thanks to Swallow Hill Music. I'm David Krause. See you next time.